The phrase green bubbles used to make me think of the beer some people add green food coloring to on St. Patrick's Day. And I don't know why, because I don't think he would have stood for that. Apple has finally added support for Rich Communication Services, or RCS, to the iOS 18 beta, allowing both iPhone and Android users the opportunity to experience what it's like to receive a photo that doesn't look like it was taken on a Palm Pilot. Yep, iMessage now graciously lets both types of users send high-quality media, start group chats, see typing indicators, and even read receipts. What it doesn't do is change Android messages from green to blue. So no, Gizmodo, the green bubble nightmare is not over. Although now it is more like a fever dream. Need to go to the hospital. While this is arguably one of the most impactful feature drops announced at WWDC, Apple dedicated a single sentence to it in the press release, mentioning a better experience when messaging contacts who do not have an Apple device. You may know them by their other name, most people. Now this is a beta, so there are some quirks. For example, RCS isn't yet supported if your iPhone is on an MVNO network like Google Fi. But can you blame Google for not having this ready on their own network? They've been texting Apple to see if they want to come over for years, and then suddenly they show up at the door? How did it get so messy? 1 second, oh no, please. YouTube has begun rolling out new features for premium users, including the jump ahead button after a limited testing phase. Premium subscribers on Android in the US will see the button when double tapping to skip forward in a video. YouTube says instead of doing that manually, you can just tap the button and it'll take you right where you wanna go. What's that? How does the button know where you wanna go? What are you, a free-thinking individual with your own preferences and opinions? Get out of here. YouTube's also bringing back its conversational AI for premium users, which can answer questions about the content of a video, like, hey, conversational AI, what was in that part that I skipped over? You weren't looking for that, don't worry about it. The YouTube app also now supports viewing shorts in picture-in-picture mode for Subway Surfers fans, and apparently more types of YouTube Premium plans are on the way, with new ways to share your benefits with friends who don't have an AI to tell them the only parts of a video that are worth watching. Those poor people. The CEO of Microsoft AI, Mustafa Suleyman, went a bit viral this week for calling web content freeware that AI companies are totally fine to train their AI models on under the social contract of fair use that has been standard since the 90s. And while calling what is, in many cases, copyrighted works freeware seems bad, his core argument there is defendable and really nothing new. That's how all the big LLMs have been trained. But he also called it a gray area when websites explicitly tell web crawlers not to scrape their sites for content. A quote I could easily work into a joke about consent, but I won't because I told myself no. Suleyman said the gray stuff will work its way through the courts, and he's right. The nonprofit behind Mother Jones and the Reveal radio show, the Center for Investigative Reporting, just sued Microsoft and OpenAI for copyright violations. The same day, OpenAI added Time magazine to the list of outlets it's formed content partnerships with, an acknowledgement of the grayness of the copyright question. But as for AI search company Perplexity, well, given their recent plagiarism scandals, it seems like they don't care as much which shade of gray the chips land on, which kind of tracks with the fact that its CEO told Lex Fridman his company got its start by making fake academic accounts so they could scrape Twitter's data to use in their product. I think it's well past time a trustworthy, morally upstanding entity investigated these guys. Amazon. They'll let us know whether Perplexity's staff have access to enough fabric-lined weeping booths. There aren't nearly enough people here peeing in bottles. You need to do something about this. But don't weep about being stuck in a bubble. Check out our sponsor, Ground News. They're trying to do something about the fact that the internet has kind of turned into a cesspool of polarized bubbles where it's easy for inaccurate info to spread unchecked. The solution? A platform that gathers articles from all kinds of outlets across the political spectrum, comparing and contrasting like your teacher told you to do, to understand where your news comes from and break free of media bias. Ground News breaks down the political leanings and ownership of each news source, so you can understand why they may report the way they do and what you may be missing. Take this story from earlier this week. EU regulators charged Apple with non-compliance with their Digital Markets Act. With Ground News, we can see that more left-leaning outlets reported on this story, focusing on Apple's behavior, while right-leaning outlets highlighted the EU specifically targeting Apple with fines. Same thing, different perspectives. I feel so smart. If you already know where you're getting most of your news from, their blind spot feature can show you stories you're most likely missing as well. So get the transparency you deserve from your news and save 40% on Ground News's Vantage plan by using our link in the description. Okay, now you're gonna wanna get in a more stable stance for when these quick bits come through, okay? And when they hit you, don't push back. Just let them go, because you do not want to make these things angry. Due to a glitch with Apple Pay, many Hungarian iPhone users found themselves getting mistakenly charged for payments they never made. Thankfully, it seems that affected customers will be reimbursed in the coming week. While typically these charges were only small amounts, some users found themselves getting charged several times in a row, with one user getting charged for nearly $1,500 across 74 transactions in the space of 5 minutes before the bank blocked any further withdrawals. It's like your bank account deciding on your behalf that you deserve a little treat. A little treat. A little treat. Oh, I see. Intel has shown off a prototype optical interconnect chip that could allow server processors to support up to 4 terabits per second interlinks. Interlinked, sorry. It's still early days for the prototype, but Intel is apparently working with select customers on incorporating it into SoC designs. Thomas Leilberg, a director on the project, said that server needs are straining the capabilities of electrical I/O designs, and that servers also look super boring right now, so we need to get some laser action in there, stat.
Oh no, servers are getting boring?
Somebody play Sandstorm. OpenAI has announced a new AI model intended to critique ChatGPT and help human trainers spot errors in its output. They called it CriticGPT. So don't worry, AI skeptics, AI can now do your job too. The same day, Google announced a partnership with data services giant Moody's, which should help Google's enterprise customers to create AI chatbots grounded in facts, instead of what they were previously grounded in, 4chan green text stories. I, for one, celebrate our AI overlords' attempts to not blatantly make shit up. The FCC has been inundated with complaints against T-Mobile following the company's decision to raise prices for cellular customers to whom it repeatedly and explicitly promised a lifetime price freeze. However, it turns out that in a separate FAQ, the only real guarantee in the Un-carrier's Un-contract was to pay customers' final phone bill if they decided to cancel following their inevitable betrayal. It was always a little fiscally dubious for T-Mobile to promise so many of its customers a lifetime price freeze back in 2017, unless, for some reason, it thought that most of those customers were going to die in a terrible plague only a few years later.
I'm just saying, T-Mobile are psychics.
And a computer comprised of plastic cubes which can change its pattern to represent data without using any electricity has been developed by researchers at North Carolina State University. Why? I don't know, seems weird. The design was inspired by the Japanese art of Kirigami, which I can only describe as origami remastered. Binary ones and zeros are represented in the positions of the component cubes, which can be pushed up and down either manually or using magnets. We've got a long way to go before we can use these to fight back against autonomous robot dogs with guns, but hey, it's a good start. An even better start would be you coming back on Monday for a talk-linked episode I recorded with Jonathan Horst of Mac Address. We argue about Apple and the safety of motorcycles. Go check it out.